You would think that in a country this old, you would find restaurants dating back to the times of the pyramids, but it turns out, not really. I recently found out that Cairo's oldest surviving restaurants are just a little over 100 years old, which honestly is still pretty impressive. Some of them are European-inspired spots where the elite used to dine, others were meeting places where people literally planned revolutions, and a few started out as humble street carts that grew into some of the city's most famous restaurants. So I'm going on a little mission to track down the oldest surviving restaurants in Egypt. Okay, to be fair, I only explored Cairo in this video, but moving on. Let's first take a trip to downtown Cairo, a mesmerizing part of the city that still feels like it is stuck in another era somehow. Okay, you guys, I wasn't around in the 1800s, but I swear it feels like I've time traveled back there. This is Groppi, one of Cairo's oldest and most legendary cafes. It was founded in 1891 by a Swiss chocolatier named Giacomo Groppi, and for decades, this was the place to be. Back in its prime, everyone came here, like diplomats, writers, movie stars, and even the notorious King Farouk himself. You might look at this garden and think it feels a little too modern, but step inside and you'll really see what makes Groppi special. The interior still carries this old-world charm. Some Google reviews might say it needs renovation, but I kind of like that it hasn't changed much. I'm pretty sure these chandeliers haven't changed in a century, and just look at these glass display cases, with platters that famous people presumably ate out of. Now, on to the food. There are beautiful cakes and pastries, but where they really specialize is ice cream and chocolates. In fact, it was the first place in Cairo to sell ice cream. I ordered the traditional 1891 Groppi cassata on the menu, and if I'll be honest with you, I didn't know what a cassata was, but I just kind of liked the idea that it could have been sold here 134 years ago. This feels cold. Breakfast, or should I say, dessert breakfast, has arrived. I have never heard of cassata before, let alone ice cream cassata, but it is beautiful. By the description on the menu, this is just called traditional 1891 cassata with sugared fruits and cream. So, that being said, let's give it a try. It feels like a mix of ice cream and also gelato, strawberry and orange gelato. And then these are like some almost like dried fruit chunks. So apparently, Giacomo Groppi became the go-to chocolatier for the monarchs and pashas all across the Middle East during that time. And so when Egyptian elites or foreigners would go to Europe, they would bring back a box of these chocolates. During World War II, King Farouk actually sent a 100-kilo box, probably more than one box, to Princesses Elizabeth and Margaret, and that is how famous this place was. One of the reasons I love old places like this is because you just never know who could have been sitting at this same table, maybe eating this same cassata. I think because this place is so renowned for its chocolates, I will have to give at least one a try before leaving. The box is stunning. And on the inside, we've got a couple artisanal looking chocolates. I guess this is what it feels like to really eat like a queen. It's shaped like a rose here. Beautiful. Truly melts on your tongue. Now, I'm not a professional chocolate taster, but I am somewhat of a chocoholic, so I feel like I have decent credentials to rate this as an 11 out of 10. Enough of where the elite ate. Let's go see where people plotted revolutions. Here is Cafe Riche. So, back in 1908, when this place was founded, it was a time when Egypt was under British occupation, and downtown Cairo was quickly transforming into a European-style district. It wasn't just a place for coffee, it was a place where writers and revolutionaries came to talk and argue and imagine what they wanted the future of Egypt to look like. This interior is pretty cool, I have to say. The walls are filled with people who brainstormed at this cafe and changed history.
Since 1908 until 1960, there were like 17 different owners. All of them were foreigners. First Egyptian owner of the place was my grandfather in 1960. It was inherited by me and my family. Egypt was colonized by the British since 1882 until 1952. In 1919, Egyptians wanted to do a revolution against the British because the British were actually doing massacres in Egypt they weren't treating the Egyptians well. So they actually got here in the downstairs basement, and they did the prints against the British so they can broadcast for our revolution. Each and every one of those people actually has a story with the place. Writers, poets, actors, and everything. Naguib Mahfouz, he's a Nobel Prize winning writer. This place is full of history since 1908 until this day.
Okay, I better order before I start getting hangry. Y'all, this menu has a few too many options for my liking, but I will do my best. I could not tell you what rabbit with molokhia is, but I feel like that's something I don't have every day, so I think I'm gonna go with that. Can I have the rabbit with molokhia, please?
No, I'm sorry.
So I guess that item and many other slow-cooked items were not available on the menu until after 3 p.m., as Egypt has a pretty late dining culture, with lunch usually around 2 to 4 p.m., so I rerouted. What do you recommend?
Bechamel.
Recommend best. Good.
Good.
Good. Which one?
But chicken.
A fata,
Very good.
fata veal also good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gusto.
So based on limited Googling, this is toasted pieces of bread at the bottom, along with tender pieces of meat, and obviously on top of a bed of rice. And I think this sauce is some kind of tomato, garlicky, something sauce. No, that is incredible. The rice is just so fluffy, and with the crunch of the toasted bread. Not that I've had a whole lot of veal in my life, but that might be the best veal I've ever had. Fateh originates in Egypt in the southern Levant area, and according to etymology, the name fateh itself comes from the Arabic verb fata, meaning to tear or break apart, like tearing apart old bread into pieces before giving it new life in a different meal. They were certainly innovative and philosophical back in the day. Speaking of, if Café Riche was where people went to debate philosophy, Maison Thomas was where they went to get a break from it. Founded in 1922, and it might be over 100 years later, but I'm not kidding when I say, first impression, everything about the interior here makes me feel like I'm in 1922 Italia. The green tables, the old tile floors, the golden glow from the lights, everything feels charmingly stuck in the past. And one of the most unique parts about this place is that it is open 24 hours, which is pretty rare to find in Egypt. But that being said, it is 10 in the morning and I'm ordering pizza and, well, I have this place all to myself. We have another overwhelmingly large menu here, or maybe I'm just bad at making decisions. Fortunately, the staff was kind enough to give some recommendations, and even beyond that, they make the pizza fresh right in front of you. When in doubt, you can't go wrong with the basics, right? Houseman marinara, mozzarella, crushed tomatoes, olive oil, oregano. When I say this pizza tasted authentic, I swear I'm not comparing it to American-style frozen dinner pizzas. Suddenly, I feel like they gave me the fork and knife for a reason. Oldest pizzeria in Cairo. The tomatoes are fresh. The crust is very thin and crisp. Perfect layering of cheese and olive oil. I definitely gave up on that whole eating pizza with a fork and knife thing. Let's take a walk through the surrounding district of Zamalek, this leafy island in the middle of the Nile that feels like a whole different side of Cairo. It's quieter here, with plenty of greenery, mansions casually popping up, and modern cafes lining the sidewalks. Back in the early 20th century, this was where the city's upper class built their homes. I think it's one of the nicest places to walk around in Cairo. Oh, and right next to the other place, Maison Thomas, there is my next spot, Abou El Sid. It gets controversial reviews, so I had to go check it out myself. Part of me feels like I simply don't belong in a place like this, but at the same time, the interior is nothing like I have ever seen before. Now, when I first arrived here, I actually thought it opened in the 1940s, but it turns out it actually just opened in 1999 and was designed to feel like something straight out of the 1940s. Oops, sorry about that. But either way, let's take some time to appreciate this atmosphere. The walls are covered in murals of old actors and actresses. The lighting is warm and dim. The menus are vintage looking. I mean, even the way to the bathroom is beautiful. It really feels like where they would film old Egyptian movies. The restaurant is named after Abou El Sid, who isn't an actual person. He's actually just like this folk legend, the archetype of the generous Egyptian host. The restaurant borrows his name to recreate that spirit. Food has arrived, and it is a lot of food. I don't even know where to start with all of this, and I might be eating it wrong, but I will do my best. The lighting doesn't really do justice to the malakia, but I believe it is a jute leaf stew that should be poured over the rabbit and rice. Even the rice itself is extremely fluffy. All right, let's try the rabbit. How do I eat this? Let's see. Do I just pull it off the bone? Okay, we'll put some of this on it. It's very tender. It tastes like the rabbit was living a healthy life. The malaki is kind of like spinach soup, but thicker and more garlicky and with a bit of sweetness that pairs so well with the rabbit and rice. But what surprised me most about this restaurant was the box that the check came in. I mean, I have never received a check that has come in a box this fancy. Now, there is one place that everyone said you have to eat at when in Egypt, and that is Abu Tarek. It combines the national dish of Egypt, Koshary, with one of the longest-standing establishments of this dish. It started back in 1950 as a small street cart by a man named Tarek. His Koshary recipe became so legendary that he opened a full restaurant here in downtown Cairo. The waiter just came up and told me that there's one dish, no meat, no chicken, just Koshary.
Hello guys, welcome to Abu Tariq. First time here, don't touch anything, can I help you? 3, 2, 1, Abu Tariq number 1. Welcome to Abu Tariq, I love you. This tomato sauce, salt and pepper, vinegar with garlic and lemon. You like spicy?
Yes, I like spicy.
Medium spicy. And the lemon? Like urine bags or...
Whoa.
This fried onion. And chicken. Enjoy one perfectly. Now mix pasta and rice and lentil and tomato sauce.
Wow.
This extra tomato spicy, little spicy.
I had Koshary one more time before this, but people said that the only, or one of the only real versions that you can get is the one here. So. This is significantly better than the first one. It's like garlicky pita bread.
We just got in. We just landed a few hours ago.
Okay.
And we're heading. We have to go back to the airport to see Bazaar.
So you just got here? You got here and you came to this restaurant right away?
Yes.
Wow. Now, as someone who has tried Koshary all of 2 times, including this one, I'm far from being a Koshary expert, but I think possibly the reason why people recommend this over all the other kosheries in Cairo, or Egypt for that matter, I think it's more about the vibe and the surrounding than the food itself. But the food itself, it is really, really good. I think the ingredients are of high quality. They are highly hygienic here. And also the ratio of the ingredients is a bit better. More lentils and chickpeas than rice and macaroni pasta. They kind of mix it for you, so there's no chance to mess it up. If you've been here and you think that there's another reason why this place is so highly rated, let me know. This portion was massive and I couldn't even come close to finishing it. I had to save a bit of my appetite anyways, so after getting the check, I headed to a totally different part of the city. To get to my next destination, I'm walking through Ataba Market, and it's not even close to the biggest market in Cairo, but this is by far one of the most chaotic places I have ever walked through. Downtown Cairo feels like part of the city that was built to replicate a European district, but just a few kilometers away, the streets narrow, the architecture changes, and you step into an entirely different world, Islamic Cairo. I made it to Khan al-Khalili Bazaar, which is an open-air bazaar from the medieval times, I believe the 14th century. that is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Back in the 14th century, when this market first began, Cairo was one of the biggest trade hubs in the world. Like many bazaars, it is home to a lot of narrow alleyways, a lot of unique looking items, and also a lot of gimmicky looking items. To be honest, it's hard to tell what is a real versus fake product here, but you can get the sense of the place that once connected Africa, the Middle East, and Europe. But my one mission in this bazaar today is to visit this cafe, which is Al Fishawy, the oldest official standing cafe in Cairo, or Egypt for that matter. You know how at the beginning of this video I said that the oldest restaurants in Cairo only go back about 140 years? Well, it turns out there's an exception. This place has been around since 1797. Al Fishawy's design truly could not be more different than those downtown cafes. Just look at these beautiful geometric patterns lining the walls. Ah, and there is no menu here. But I was keen to see if they offered a traditional Egyptian drink I hadn't tried yet. Do you have salad? Salad?
Sahlab.
Salad.
Egyptian
Salad. One.
One sahlab.
Yeah, thank you. The drink has arrived, and from my understanding, it's a milk beverage with cinnamon, golden raisins, some kind of nut, and maybe some coconut here? Supposedly this is a good winter drink, so even though it's November right now, it doesn't really feel like winter because it's like 32 every day. That being said, let's give it a try. Definitely a lot of cinnamon in here.
Sahlab Egypt to go.
The only thing I can use to describe this is kind of like a mix of eggnog and a coconut milkshake. Now, here are the awards for all the oldest cafes and restaurants that I visited in Cairo. First, the most genuine, Abu Tarek. I'm pretty sure none of the places in this vlog are places that locals actually go to except for this one. Second award goes to the coolest history, which is Cafe Riche. Third, tastiest food, Cafe Groppi. I'm not even that big of an ice cream person, but the ice cream here blew my mind. Fourth, most likely to be in a film set, Abou El Sid. Fifth, most likely to make you feel like you're not living in 2025, Maison Thomas. And finally, the sixth one goes to the oldest standing cafe restaurant in Cairo, without even a menu for that matter, which would be Al Fishawy. That's all I got.